That seems to be an issue for people, is not getting enough hands-on help with medication. Is someone gonna fix that? This is my last try in my life. And I'm like, great, another chance at anesthesia, which I love going to sleep. And she said, the world knows like this much about endo. The research just hasn't been done. Welcome to IVF Companion. I'm Alison, and I'm right in the middle of my own IVF journey. You might be as well, or maybe you support someone that is going through this. So this channel is designed to offer resources and support, really to be a companion alongside with you through your medical part of this journey. So I can't offer you medical advice, of course, and I'm not going to help interpret your blood work and so on. But what I can do is provide my own experience and bring on people to the show that can tell you from a professional standpoint how they can support you and what it's really doing to add on to the care that you're already receiving at an IVF clinic. Each person's journey is unique, so if you would like something covered on this show that maybe I haven't gone through and might not ever touch, I want to hear about that as well, and I hope that we can bring in many different perspectives. So this episode is really dedicated to elaborating on my journey and where I'm at now. So that includes going to CNY. I used to go abroad in Mexico. Now I'm going locally in Colorado. Beginning to work with my donor eggs. I spoke a little bit about my transition to really understanding and coming to terms with that idea as a whole in the initial episode, and just where I'm at this point. And then I'll let you know where we're going to go from here. So I had my first experience with CNY. Now, they are a clinic that has several locations across the United States. They're known for being more affordable. Now, all said and done, they cost about the same as my whole experience going to Mexico for IVF. So a lot less than the first clinic I might have checked in with, which 40,000 they said. This might be 16 to 18,000 for a cycle. Not cheap. Very happy that this can be a part of my life at all. But, it can be painful to have these expenses and then have the roller coaster continue. Anyway, CNY required a little bit of a learning curve when it came to getting to know their portal and how to make sure that one part of the organization is speaking to the other. And I think they all know that who work there. So whenever I got someone on the phone or in person, I'm just in love. They're wonderful people, very experienced, and I felt super informed and I felt their patience. It just so happens that the way that you communicate digitally, you have to learn how to do it. So, for example, you can't reply to a message. You always have to start a new one. When you're writing to billing, you might have to reference something else that might have happened in another department. And even along the way, like going in for my egg retrieval and meeting with, the nurse and the anesthesiologist and the doctor and another person, another nurse, they would say, oh, what you just said to me, make sure you say that to the next person. And so even they're telling you, keep advocating for yourself. And I had to get to know their resources online as well. So they had all these videos of how to use medications. I still needed a lot of support for that. And no matter where you are, that seems to be an issue for people, is not getting enough hands-on help with medication. Is someone going to fix that? Does anyone have any ideas? The videos are helpful, but I still find myself going to get a lot of answers on Reddit. And then Reddit makes me feel really dramatic about it because it's people that are telling me about their horrible experiences, because that's why you come and talk about it on Reddit. Okay, anyway, so I had my third egg retrieval in my life at CNY. I had decided going into it, this is my last egg retrieval. I don't want to do this again. I was already very reluctant. I just wanted to go straight to donor eggs. But I decided to do a little bit of both. So egg retrieval of mine plus 7 donor eggs. So they would all be adorably cultured alongside each other, and it's the race to the finish Well, guess what? Donor eggs absolutely won because I'm 43 and my eggs are just a little bit crap. So my AMH has always been good. It's like 2.4. I get a lot of eggs. Actually, 13 tends to be my lucky or unlucky number, depending on how you want to think about it. So each egg retrieval, 13 eggs. And then after attrition, in this one, I'll just wrap it up here. Nothing got fertilized. No, nobody made it to an embryo. So that was that. I actually laughed when I heard it. I was like, really? All right. Anyway, moving on, just like I thought, to donor eggs. And you can look at the last episode. I've already been through the process of hating the idea and then finding it the idea for us. It's really the way forward for us. And so all said and done, I have three-day, because they freeze them on the third day, and we don't do PGT testing with donor eggs because she's in her 20s, and I guess we just don't need to be concerned about that. I don't know. Let me know what you think, but that's what my clinic said. And they don't want to risk further damage to the embryos because the eggs had already been frozen and unfrozen. And okay, so we went with that. No PGT testing, which we were strongly relying on previously. And therefore, I have three-day embryos on ice waiting for me. Now, a lot has happened since then. That was August, September, and now it's March. So what's going on now is me getting strong, me preparing my body for a pregnancy. But something else happened along the way. I spoke to a doctor at CNY on the phone because, again, you have to request that. They'll just send you through cycles. They'll just be like, call me on the first day of your period forever, and just you can do as many cycles as you want. I wanted a call with the doctor. So please note that you have to ask for that. So got it scheduled. She actually had a pretty early opportunity to speak to her. And you don't always have the same doctor. That's another thing. It's whatever doctor's available. And I really liked her. First of all, she applauded me for my vegan diet, which I eat eggs now. It's not really the point at the moment, but I just don't want to proclaim veganhood when I've never been perfect at it. Let's say plant-based, okay? But she thought that was great. But at the same time, there's other doctors at this clinic that are very interested in the carnivore diet and will tell you about that. So whatever, really. But I had a moment, okay? I just had a moment where my diet was celebrated, and whereas it's usually kind of socially isolating. So there's that. And I guess the reason for that is because it keeps inflammation low in the uterus. All right. So she gave me an option to have another test. I was about to consider going into embryo transfer pretty soon, but this is my last try in my life. I want to see if there's anything that I can do to improve my chances. And it turns out she recommended a hysteroscopy, told me about the risks of it and recovery and what it's like. And I'm like, great, another chance at anesthesia, which I love going to sleep. So we did it. Recovery was simple. Procedure was simple. A month later, such a long wait, I got the results that I had a marker that showed possible endo. Very helpful. But even before I got those results, I met with an endo specialist, and she shared that, as much as she knows and as long as she's been doing this, she said the world knows like this much about endo. The research just hasn't been done. We women are just so mysterious for everyone still, they don't know what's going on there. But we decided to go forward with surgery. I came into this meeting with her very pro-surgery myself, like, let's get in there. Let's get in there and do laparoscopic. And she agreed with me. I told her everything that had been going on my whole life with my bladder, with my periods. Now, I don't know how to compare my period pain to someone else, for sure. Maybe we all feel like it's horrible. I don't know. Yeah, I have to take 3 Advil sometimes, and I would love to stay home from work. The pain goes down my legs. I don't know what's normal. I honestly don't. So But that wasn't my actually biggest concern. I could live with a crappy period, but I want to see what the connection was to my bladder. And let's give my baby a great environment to grow in. Let's give an embryo an opportunity to implant into a nice warm space. So the surgery, which was done on a guess, actually turned out to show endo in so many places. And I will say that she did excision. That's important. I understand that ablation is not an ideal technique. It can help some people, and certainly I've heard that it does, but I learned that it is the gold standard. Now, the doctor of acupuncture that I saw before I went to an embryo transfer in Mexico, I saw her here in Colorado. And she, at that time, after listening to my experience about lifelong issues with my bladder, my period pain, and everything, she had said, sounds like endo. And at that time, I was like, I am not hearing you because I am dead set on going to my embryo transfer tomorrow. So, an example of being so close-minded and in a rush that I just didn't even want to deal with it. And now I want to deal with it. And I did. So she excised tissue off of, there were, what's it called? Adhesions, like bowel is stuck to the abdominal wall. Right. So there were lesions and implants everywhere, all over bowel, ovaries, bladder, uterus. Oh my goodness. So there was a lot to clean up. And the recovery wasn't that bad, honestly. There was an issue with air being trapped I felt like my ribs, where there was a very sharp pain and shoulder pain for a whole week for me. That was honestly the toughest thing. Everything else was okay. And I'm already feeling relief. I'm already feeling some relief just from the bladder issues, honestly. So now let's see what can happen with this embryo transfer. So I'm feeling more prepared to move forward into that. And so my plan is to transfer one embryo at a time, starting as soon as next month. Of course, I have to call them when I get my cycle. That's always how it goes. And I could transfer two. They actually don't recommend that. Some clinics will do that. We used to like the idea of twins, but again, I'm 43. I just don't think this body is up for that. And that would put me at high risk and probably less likely to do that magical home birth that I'm dead set on doing. So I don't want to make things more complicated. That brings me to where I am today. Now, I will continue to post episodes like this where I share my story, but this channel is really going beyond me at this point. I would like to hear if you have anything that you'd like to have explored on this channel. Please check in with me. But something's coming. I am excited later on this month to spend some time in the studio with a doctor of Chinese medicine here locally. And so we will have an opportunity to learn how acupuncture supports the fertility journey and more. So until then, yours in companionship on the journey, and take care.